There's a tsunami of grief going on around the world. So many people, you can't even add numbers to it. But in the United States, 8 million people are affected every year by grief and the death of someone else. It's very close to them.
The International Grief Council was formed in 2014 by 3 women, mothers, daughters, sisters, and authors. They offer workshops and guidance to individuals and groups to support them in finding meaning and empowerment in the grieving process.
Uma Garish and Daniela Norris and I are gathered together to bring the conversation about grief out into the public community, to give people an opportunity to talk about it, to educate people who are not prepared to deal with grief or don't know how to be caregivers of those who are grieving. And we are hoping to start this conversation in a way that will allow people to feel more comfortable with the discussion of grief.
The 3 of us who come from very different countries, cultures, faith backgrounds, years of experience, we all still spoke the universal language of grief and heartbreak. We experienced it in different ways, but we spoke the same language. And everyone who's human will experience loss in their life at some point.
I think what's common to all of us who are grieving is that it is an experience that takes us out of our everyday life and forces us to find new tools to face the reality.
Loanne, Uma, and Daniela each bring a different complementary approach to processing grief and reconciling with loss.
Everybody grieves differently. Everybody has a different way of healing. And my way is through transpersonal journaling, which allows my daughter, my husband's family, and my mother to come through to me in a way that allows me to learn how to help others and to help myself in the grieving process.
Uma's intention is to help the grieving transform the pain of loss into purpose. She also supports those who are grieving the loss of their own lives.
As someone who sits with the dying, I believe that it is my role to help them express that the beingness. Just be present to their experience, whatever it is. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to tell them something comforting or consoling, because there is nothing consoling or comforting about leaving your loved ones behind. So I am just available for whatever experience they are going through.
Daniela teaches techniques to communicate directly with your loved ones who have left this life.
As I'm a skeptic, I need proof for everything. And my personal experience has led me to believe that this life is not the end, that there is something beyond this life. But what I say always to those who ask me is, don't believe what I tell you. Ask for your own proof and discover, perhaps for the first time, that there is a possibility of something beyond this life. Suddenly, grief becomes lighter.
The International Grief Council creates a space to approach grief in different ways, and above all, to open a discussion about grief and acknowledge its role in our lives.
We would like people to think about how can we help one another by joining together, that we, as culturally different and religiously different people, can find a common denominator of grief conversation. It seems to me that the more organizations, the more people who discuss it, the more common denominators we'll find, and the more people we can help.
Grief is one thing we all share in an equal way that brings us to our common humanity.
I would say, instead of shutting down because of grief, open yourself up and be present to the pain. Feel your feelings. There's no shame in grief, there's no judgment in grief. Grief is a common, universal experience. So the more we are present to our own pain, the more we are able to reach out and connect with others who are walking in similar shoes. So grief is the great leveler. Don't have shame around it, don't judge your grief, don't worry about how long it's taking. for you to get through this cycle of grief. Just be present to the pain, feel your feelings, cope with it, help others, reach out to community. That's the best way to experience and go through grief and get on the other side.
I would like to encourage anybody who has lost a loved one to explore the many possibilities they have to cope with their grief, not to fold in on themselves, not to distance themselves from their loved ones and friends in this life and in the other, because help is there for us if we ask for it.
Luann, Uma, and Daniela share their perspectives and experiences around the world and would be happy to come to your community and support conscious grieving.